Hey everyone, and welcome back to the garage. In this video we're going to be mostly buttoning up the wiring on the car. Got a lot of that done, so I'll be sharing all that with you and basically all the features that I've added in the car that weren't there in 1972. But first thing I wanted to do was to stop at the beginning of the video and thank everyone who's liked and subscribed and commented on these past videos I've been doing. I'm making them for you guys because I don't make any money on them. I just like sharing what I've been working on with the rest of the community and getting input. So it's definitely appreciated, and just wanted to let you know that. So here we go. One of the things I've been working on a lot since the last video is the wiring of the car. And part of that is adding a new proximity key system. So this will basically work like a lot of newer cars, where as you get closer to the car, it detects the key fob in your pocket or hand and unlocks the doors, as well as turns on some of the car's electronics and activates the push to start system. So I don't have electric locks in this car yet. I probably won't have them set up whenever I first get it on the road, but I am putting in the push to start system, and so the proximity key will work well for that. So if you look right about, let's see, I think right about there in the car, right on the transmission tunnel, there's a little push to start switch, and it's not lit up right now. But if I get a little bit closer to the car, you can see it lights up blue. And then so basically what happens is you would get in the car, press down the brake pedal, and you can see it starts blinking. That tells you it's ready to start. So then you would, press that button and it would start the engine. If you just want to put it in accessory mode, which I'll do, you just press it once and you'll hear that it starts various things. It's going to kick on the fuel pump, the electric fuel pump. It's going to start the ECU, and let's see. Yeah, so you can hear that. The fuel pump's a little noisy because there's nothing insulating it right now. The other thing that it turns on, of course, is the digital gauge cluster that I made, and that I've been waiting to get in the car for quite some time. And then the gauge cluster will go through the, there we go, the startup loop. So you can see over here, I have the ECU down there. That's this guy. And then this box back here, if you can see it, I'll turn on the light a little bit. It might be too bright, but that's the box that runs the gauge cluster and everything. This isn't mounted right now, so obviously it doesn't look as good as it will when it's finished, but it's cool to get some of it done. Still need to wire in all of the gauge cluster signals, like the turn, activation, so you can tell when the turn signals are on, as well as the headlights and various other things. That's what these wires are for, as well as the OBD cable, which plugs into the ECU to tell the gauge cluster what's going on there. But yeah, we've made really good progress since the last video. You can see I have the hood on, and that's to help me get everything fitted since I got the engine and transmission in place. I also put on one of the hood support strut kits from Clark & Clark, which makes it really nice to open and close. Before, as you guys who own these know, it's a huge pain in the butt to open these clamshell bonnets. But now with these hood supports, I can do it with, 2 fingers, just get it started, and it opens up the rest of the way by itself. So definitely recommend those if you have either a GT6 or a Spitfire. I was going to start putting in these hood latches to my newly painted bonnet, and then I realized there's going to be a little bit of an issue. The kit to mount these bonnet catches comes with these panhead screws, which is great, and it comes with the flathead washer that goes on it. The problem is these go directly on the paint, and even with the washer on there, if I start tightening down on this guy, it's going to mar the paint, and I didn't want that. So I started looking up 3/16 rubber or plastic washers to see, what would work well in this situation. And either of those would work, but unfortunately the cheapest I was able to find them for a number 10 or 3/16 size screw was on McMaster Car, which I love McMaster Car, but it was a 100 pack. I need 6 of them. And it would have been $10 plus, probably another $5 to $10 in shipping. I'd be looking at $15, $20 for 6 washers that I've never needed before and likely will never need again. So what I ended up doing I do have a leather punch kit, and this is great because, you know, I could punch out the middle hole of something and make a washer for the screw, but I needed something that was the same size as this washer for the outside diameter to act as a punch. I didn't have any bar stock or anything like that that would work well, but what I did find was this old bearing bush or bushing sleeve, and the inside diameter was pretty much perfect to match this washer. So what I did is I threw it on the lathe. Only took, you know, probably like a minute, and if you can see, I turned down the diameter of this side to where it's really thin wall and pretty sharp. And with that, I was able to use some old gasket material that I had laying around, and with the combination of the two punches, now I have a nice, perfectly sized washer of gasket material, something that's soft, to go behind this flat washer. And when I put that on the car, I don't have to worry about it damaging the paint. So if you ever need a rubber or gasket plastic type washer, but you don't have the right size, if you do have, you know, either one or two punches and some old stock and a little mini lathe, you can make your own.
So now it's time to get back to the wiring. There's a lot of wires in a very small area here, and that's just the joys of working under the dash of a very tiny car, although it's not really any better even in the large American cars. But basically what I'm working on is getting the ECU wired in, as well as the various analog inputs that go into the gauge cluster computer. These are things like the turn signals, the headlight triggers, you know, stuff like that, fuel sender, speed sensor, all that good stuff. I'm also wiring things into the proximity key system. That way the proximity key system can activate power, because it basically replaces the typical ignition switch. So this stuff is all pretty straightforward. It's just crimping on connectors and then doing it the wrong way by using a lighter to heat shrink them. I like these weatherproof heat shrink connectors more than, you know, typical butt connectors or something, because the glue in the heat shrink holds them together. That way the mechanical bond doesn't just fail if there's vibration or something like that.
I've got most of the engine wiring harness connected. There's only a few things that still need to be connected, but it got fuel and most of the wires run, including everything to the starter and the alternator. So making good progress there. I have all the wiring buttoned up inside the car. If we can see it, let me see if I turn on the light. So I still looks like a bit of a mess, but I actually got quite a bit done. All the wiring for the clutch safety switch, which is not stock on this car, so I had to make a bracket and everything specifically for that, which came out pretty well. Have the ECU in the car and wired up, as well as, you know, the fuse panel. If we can see it over here, let me get the light. So the fuse panel back there. So all good stuff there. I didn't take a video of me doing the work because I'm super lazy, but you can see I got the downpipe back on and connected, and the exhaust on the car, if you can see that, I'm not sure. This is the exhaust that I built myself and made like 80% of a long time ago. And here you can see from the rear, the reason I put this all back on the car is because I'm going to try to get it started for the first time with this new engine. This will be the first time I've ever started this new engine, and definitely the first time I've started the car in a year and a half since the old original engine was pulled out. So I'll get it buttoned up, get the camera set up, and see if she'll turn over. Hey guys, so sorry about the noise. I have my shop fan running on high. I'm going to try to start the engine for the first time. I think all the wiring's pretty much good to go as far as the engine's concerned anyway. I'm missing one sensor that I need to get replaced. Actually, seems like it might be bad, but everything else is good to go. I don't have a coolant system on the engine yet, as you can see, so I'm only going to run it for a few seconds, and that's what the fan's for as well. Got the computer hooked up to the standalone ECU, so I can try to look at the different parameters that are coming through, and we will go ahead and see what happens. The fuel pump's on. I'm gonna hold it down to start. Oil pressure's rising, RPMs are good. Let's give it, might need to cycle some fuel through the system, so we'll keep trying a few more times. Oh, there she goes. Like I said, only gonna let it run for a second. Got a lot of rattles and stuff, unsurprising. But she sounds like she's idling okay. 950 RPMs. We'll give it a little bit of gas just to see what happens. Nice. She is running, guys. Let my gauge cluster start up here. Perfect. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and shut her down. Make sure she doesn't overheat. Awesome. So we have a running engine. That's perfect. That's one of the scariest parts of a car like this, because you've been working on it for, Jesus, a year and a half, and getting a new engine and everything else back in here. It's pretty scary, but it didn't blow up yet. So yeah, super excited. Hey guys, so it's been a few days since I first started the car. When I started it, we found out we had a few problems, even though it was only running for a few seconds. So the cam 2 sensor wasn't working, the intake air temperature or temperature manifold absolute pressure sensor, TMAP sensor, wasn't working properly. Fuel pump wasn't working properly. The high pressure fuel pump anyway wasn't working properly. We were running on low pressure only. So took a few days to investigate all those. Most of them were wiring harness issues. The other one was there was no cam follower running the high pressure fuel pump, which was just, you know, my stupid, me being stupid. I didn't know that there was even one supposed to be in there, because this is my first experience with LNF engines. And when I bought it, it didn't have a high pressure fuel pump, so I just bought the HPFP, threw it on there, and figured it would work, right? Well, no, it needs a cam follower. So that's on there now. And yeah, it's running a lot better, no more faults. So I'm gonna start it here, let you see it running for a few seconds. It's pretty easy to get it running. We just press down the brake pedal and the clutch pedal, so we bypass all the safeties and press the start button. And she's up and running. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I have the gauge cluster hooked up to the computer, so you can see it's reading RPMs fine. Also reading oil pressure fine, which is at 75 right now. So that's great, and everything's working, so pretty exciting. We still have a lot of stuff left to do on the car, but that's it for this video. So thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next time.